So let's talk about org charts, the next step of getting organized.
Okay.
And I think that we have episodes on this in the past that we'll link down in the show notes. But a lot of times, whenever you think of an org chart, you think of just a bunch of names on a board, and there's a hierarchy maybe, and yeah, there's different departments, and you just write in people's names. But that's not how we recommend starting or even organizing your org chart. Why do we not put names on the org chart to start?
Well, let me say first that an org chart is absolutely essential. It's a map. An org chart is a picture of the way you want your company to look when you're finished with it, right? When you begin a business, you fill every box in your org chart. And going back to what you're alluding to, people have real difficulty. I'm working with companies right now that we're in the process of creating org charts. And the first question is, why does it matter? Well, it gives you a picture, as I just said, of what your company looks like when it's done. It never gets done, but at least done as far as you can have. It is where you accumulate processes and tasks, and it also tells you the way people use org charts in an unskilled method is, as I used to do, you make an org chart because the bank wanted to see it, investor wanted to see it, kind of who works here kind of thing. But that's not its highest and best purpose. It is to guide you in making your choices about how you're building your company. Back to your original question, how do we use them and why do you not use names? The way we build an org chart is by functions. We've talked about it before, but there are 4 functions in business: guiding the business, which is leadership; getting the business, which is marketing; doing the business, which is operations; and administering the business, which is everything else: bookkeeping, HR, IT, all of those kinds of things. Every business has to perform all of those functions. And when you design your business by function, let's just take an example. Over under administration. Let's say in your company you have a lady named Wanda, and she keeps your books, she answers the telephones, she does purchasing, and she's really good at HR, right? So you've got this person that performs 4 functions: books, reception, purchasing, and HR stuff. Well, if you were to create a box on your org chart that said Wanda, and you said what she does, those 4 things, you've designed your company around a person, not a process. If you create an org chart that does not have names in it, but you have a function for HR, you have a function for bookkeeping, you have a function, and when I say a function, I mean a box, for receptionist, purchasing, and HR, you now have your company designed by functions, partly designed, rather than by personalities. You're a small company, and Wanda still does those things. The way you deal with that is you put Wanda's name in each box. You don't create a box specially designed for Wanda. And you go through all the parts of your business. You sit and think about it. I'm the boss. How do I want it to work after that? Do you have a chief operating officer? What is his or her functions? Do you have a chief marketing officer, a chief sales a sales manager? What are their functions? Do you have, like I said, the production manager with project managers under it? But when you go through the exercise, and it's hard to do, but it's very enlightening. People think they could just create an org chart. Well, I encourage our listeners to take out a piece of paper and sit down and do it. Put your name at the top and say, I'm the president and CEO. Now what? But just remember that you have to cover all 4 functions. I see lots of org charts when I see them that obviously somebody's emphasis, like a marketing agency, a HubSpot's this way. You see a sample org chart and it's all heavy on account administrators, designers, rainmakers, people who are going out and selling. There's not a word in there about HR, IT, who's doing payroll, who's keeping the books. There's not a word in there about leadership. So it's all about what they do. You have to cover all 4 functions in your org chart.
I think it brings so much clarity when you do it that way to all of the hats that you wear as the owner of the business,
Right.
or all of the hats that your key player owns
Wanda.
yeah, Wanda. And it really brings clarity to what needs to happen going forward. Like, how are you going to fill this out? What your next steps are for hiring, what your next steps are for, firing yourself. And shows you where you're vulnerable.
You're dead on that second point, especially. One of the highest and best uses of an org chart is determining your next hire, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you're the owner and you have a good org chart. You've got you as a leader, you've got you as a sales guy, you got you as a marketing guy, got you as your production guy. Below production, you got project manager. Below project manager, you've got not superintendent, but team leads. And you've got labor, you got machine operators. Well, you start thinking through all that. They're different functions. A machine operator is different than a guy that humps concrete bags, right? So
Right.
they're different things. And it's your business. You do all of those things today. You look through that org chart, typically from the bottom up, because that's where the least expensive hires are, and you make the least terminal mistakes if you're wrong. You don't want to hire a CEO while you're still driving the truck, right? But you look at your org chart and you say, which of these positions, if I hired them, would free up most of my time? And it gives you a map to do that. And we literally do that with our clients. They say, well, I'm thinking about hiring a CNC operator. I say, well, is that what you really need? What our goal is to free you so that you don't have to come to work every day. Where's your time going? Are you spending any time on the CNC? Well, no. Is it a huge capacity problem? Well, not really. Well, where are you spending time? I'm doing takeoffs and ordering stuff. Okay, how many hours a week? 25 hours a week I spend doing that. So if we hired an estimator who could do takeoffs and also be a purchasing agent, that's your first hire because it bought you the most time, right?
Yeah.
Well, when it's laid out in the form of an org chart and it's laid flat on your desk, it's a map that you can follow to begin to staff your company without just knee-jerk reactions, how you feel that day.
Yeah. I think it's not an easy one to accomplish, getting the org chart done, but it's definitely where you start to see things much bigger picture as a business owner and as a reality, not just theory. Like, it is still theory and practice, but you're actually doing most of those things already. There may be a new division that you want to have one day or something like that, but for the most part, you're already doing those things. And so it really gives you a clear picture of reality and what the future could look like very tangibly. So
yeah, and
very
I
helpful
had a person in here yesterday, a client actually, and they're working on that. It's a lady, and she said, "My gosh, it really made me start to think." And if you start it, you will have a lot of questions like, "Well, this person talks to that person, so you got sideways lines on there, right? Like Bill works for Bob, but Bill also has to tell James what to do, and you get all complicated." First of all, the problem with that is you're thinking about people, right? Mm-hmm. Second issue is having an organization chart that describes positions incorporated by function into the way you want your business to look does not preclude somebody on the even level in the org chart talking to somebody else, right?
Yeah.
You can do it. You're just not the flow of assignments, and I don't want to say command, but somebody higher on an org chart would give instructions and do the performance review for somebody lower on the chart. Doesn't mean they can fire him even if you don't want that. It's an order of organization and how the responsibilities flow through your organization.
Yeah. I think also for your team, once they see an org chart like that,
right,
especially with key players that are really invested, it really opens up their mind and their eyes to all the work that they're doing, but all the potential they have in the company. It gives a really clear view of not just their role, but the vision of the company and where we're going. And so extremely helpful to do that. I think this really helps with the next part of getting organized. Probably, honestly, the biggest like 1-2 punch that we have here of once you get this done, it's so much easier to do the next one. And that's with the systems. Because
Right.
once you have each
Processes.
role defined, the processes and systems for that role, you can really focus on which one needs it the most.